about to put this thing to work. We have a demo today. John Deere 8RX 370, actually a pre-production model. It's got about everything on it. The 18-inch track system, LED lights everywhere, all the stuff in the interior, fancy seat, refrigerator, fancy radio, all that kind of stuff. And probably the latest and greatest, I suppose, thing from Deere, the rear fenders have been replaced with tanks. There is 1,000 gallons of liquid capacity on that tractor. Now, this was up in Michigan as a demo on a demo planter for that, what do they call it, exact rate. So, intended for starter or 2x2, whatever, on the planter for fertilizer. So there's some of your valves there. Hook up to the planter, it's attached to this 3-point hitch there. So we're not gonna mess with figuring out how to plumb it to our applicator, but we are gonna side dress with this thing. So let's say I did have one of these, could plumb it to the applicator, and then I would have 3,600 gallons of product I could apply. So that would get me, I run, 50 or more gallons to the acre. So that'd give me another 20 acres in those tanks. So we'll see. I was curious how you're supposed to weight this thing. There's only a couple weights on the front. I'd imagine you got 10,000 pounds of fertilizer back there. Maybe you need a little more weight here, but I don't know how it bounces out with all the tracks and all that. So anyway, I'm about to take this thing to the field and we are going to run it in some corn, which will be an interesting first place to drive this thing, because the control for driving is a little bit different than what I'm used to. So had to figure that out on the way there. So let's check out the cab. This is the Signature Edition, which is John Deere's kind of full package interior. You can see this thing doesn't get a stay. It belongs to the factory, not our dealer. There might be some things on here that aren't final production. See there, you got a sight gauge for the tank. A little storage here. Buddy seat as normal. You got the nice fancy seat here. You got all kinds of electronic controls down here along with your normal adjustments. Flip your armrest. You got heat, which our current tractor has, but you also got cooling, and you got some other things I haven't looked at yet, and you've got massage, which makes a 5-year-old laugh quite a bit. Got the Gen 4 screen there. 2 screens up there they were using. This was demoing some planters. I just tossed my 2630 in because it's all set up for what we were doing. Then you got the joystick here, which once I understood it is pretty slick. You can program all the different buttons on it to do things. So like this is the auto track resume, which I don't like. This button for auto track resume, that 9420R we bought, is like this. Used to be a rocker switch. Now this is like this flush button that without looking your thumb doesn't really feel really well. So nice to have it programmed up here. It's interesting, so you can set, I got 2 speeds set based on these buttons. You can see the screen changes when I do that. You can set your speed, so I set like a field speed and a turnaround speed. So what you do, you got to pull a little trigger on the backside here to activate it to do anything, and then you slap it to the right here and you're in your set speeds, and then you can just toggle them back here this way, and it draws the RPM down like a normal IVT does for whatever the workload is. Nice radio there, dual power mirrors. We got all the technology in here, integrated GPS up in the roof, all kinds of LED lights. Turn around here, plug-ins, all kinds of plug-ins. You got like your household plug-in there, you got a 12 volt there. While we're looking, here's your fridge like the combine has, and you've got, you can see I got my phone, iPad charger here. Here's an aux thing, USB. This is powering my fold box right here that's just kind of laying there because it's a temporary. Yeah, more power, 2 more USB ports, and you got this rail up here. I suppose you'd slide like a T-bolt kind of thing in, or a hex head in. So your rail for your various screens or phone holders, whatever you want to put up there, is not across the middle of the window like ours is right now. So that is a nice feature. This has, I didn't mess with, shuttle shift. Never really messed with that, doing what I'm doing, so not quite sure what that does. Well, I know what it does, I just never mess with it. You got a couple foot pegs up here. That is nice. And you even got one over here for when you rotate around to the right, you can swivel the seat around. That is in there, so that is nice. The interior is very nice. One odd thing I noticed, the back window open. Let's see, it's got this other little hole. You can, if I can get it in there left-handed, you can put it in there and leave the window cracked open. That's new, new to me anyway, but you wouldn't do that in the field because you'd be sucking all kinds of dust. But I don't know, a lot of times in the shop I crack the window open to keep some airflow. So yeah, that is the inside. It is very, very nice. This thing rides very nice, and you can see you go back to straight axle when you got these tracks. You don't have the independent link front suspension like we have on our 8360R, but it rides just as good. It steers great, so that is nice. Let's look at the tanks a little bit. It's about to rain, so we'll try to get this done with. Maybe go on the other side that's not windy. But yeah, this thing was pretty great for side dress. It's everything our current tractor is and more, especially on the comfort side. So maybe not its best angle. So you got the 1,000-gallon tanks. That's kind of the newest, biggest deal from Deere on these tractors. One odd thing I thought about the tanks, which I guess I didn't really expect. You see right there, those hydraulics are for the tanks. And now it's going to pour down rain on me, so I'm not going to stand out there and talk. Farm truck for the day. My truck's getting some new U-joints today. So anyway, I was talking about the hydraulics there. So the hydraulics, the pump on those 1,000-gallon tanks takes up one of your selectable control valves. I thought that'd be kind of a self-contained thing with just a switch in the cab. You can turn on the pump when you want it. Well, of course, it is a switch in the cab with the hydraulics, but I thought it'd be its own self-contained thing. It's not going to take up an SCV on the back. So I think that tractor has 5, maybe you can get 6 now. I'm not sure, but if you're planting, which that's intended for, with the new planter, 600 gallons on the planter, 1,000 gallons on the tractor, you got 1,600 gallons of starter or whatever you're putting down with the planter to mess with. But yeah, you kind of use a lot of SCVs with the planter too. So especially if you're getting into Exact-Emerge and all this kind of stuff where you got a hydraulically powered generator, or PTO powered, which I'm not too excited about. But I just thought that was a little weird that it's plumbed just into the back like it's an implement. I thought maybe it'd be self-contained through the Power Beyond or something like that. This is going to be a nice rain though while I'm taking this video. We really needed this one, so that ought to bring the price of grain down. Actually, it was down quite a bit yesterday. Corn was down 40 cents, bean were down 90 cents. Let's see what happens today with this weather coming across the places I need it. Nice and beading off the G8 there. Slippery car. My thoughts after a couple days with the 8RX 370. Would I own one? What do I like? What's weird? What's wrong? Okay, so an issue. Drove this home last night. Thought it was a little clunky. Thought maybe, I don't know, the tanks rattle or something driving on the road. But spotted this morning major malfunction. That is a cord from the tracks. And there's a bunch more cord, and if you can see it peeling out between the rollers there. So that's a problem. Now this machine, they did adjust it into a track alignment before they gave it to us, so they knew this track was having some wear, and now this track is done for. But we've run the tractor enough to know what we want to know about it, and it was nice to have it here for a couple days. Now I'll say on these 18-inch tracks, my neighbor that has a red tractor, when they first got their row track, quad track on tracks with 18s, they had issues with it too. They had, I think, 2 or 3 more different sets of tracks sent out to them to try to get it corrected. So maybe these narrow tracks are issues on these big tractors. And of course, that tractor is bigger than this one, being a 4-wheel drive. That's a little bit of a problem, but pre-production model, maybe they'll get something tuned up on it, or maybe it's with the track company, which from what I've heard from others, maybe that is the issue. Another funky thing, maybe that has to do with the tanks. Your windshield washer fluid fill is that blue cap right there. It's normally by the ladder, by the door. I don't know if the tank's got in the way, or maybe the tire tractors, it's there too. But yeah, the only easy way to fill that is to take your jug in the cab, which is not a big deal. I just thought that was kind of funny. You have a rear camera up there. You also have a front camera here, which didn't do much for me, but maybe if you're working really close up in the tool shed or something to park it, maybe you'd use it. You got kind of a little extra fender on each front track. I suppose on this side, that helps you from covering your steps there in mud. And one thing I like on all these new 8Rs is the door handle is now down here where you can reach it. It used to be like pretty much up where this is. Of course, we got our other tractor parked right next to it. And the opening is like 25% wider or something. So that's kind of nice. Actually, we can swing over here. We just put our 360R back on the applicator. So yeah, you can see the door handles up here, which I'm 5'10". It's a little stretch, so having door handle right here, that's nice. Small thing, but it's nice. Big question would be, would I own one of these things? Yeah, I would, but would I have tracks or tires? That I don't know. Obviously had a bit of a problem with the one track here. Tracks cost a lot more. I want to say it was like, had to build one online again, like 90 grand. 8R 370 with tires at the top. Starting list price $445,000. Of course, these are list. You don't actually pay list, but go down to the 8RX 370, $545,000. So call it 100 grand. Tires are pretty simple. As far as the side dress machine, the 4 narrow tracks, that's pretty nice. That means I got 4 less wheels on the ground trumping corn when I turn the corners. And of course they're longer footprint than a tire. I don't think I'm smashing any more corn. If anything, it's less, probably about the same. But tires are definitely cheaper and simpler, and the only adjustment they have is PSI. You don't have idlers and rollers and tension and all that kind of stuff. So these Deere tracks are supposed to be simpler to maintain than some of the others, I understand. We will have an 8R in the future, I'm sure. These new style 8Rs, of course we got an 8R now, but you know, these new ones. Tires or tracks would be the question. I doubt we would have the tanks. We don't run any liquid on the planter now. It'd be nice for side dress. They limit your visibility a little bit on side dress, at least with our bar, because the bar is so close to the tractor on the applicators like this one. So a little bit limited visibility close up with the tanks. But yeah, you get rid of the tracks and the tanks, you can be more like I'm sure a mere 400,000 instead of over 500,000. Of course, we often buy a 1 or 2 year old machine. That 8360 over there, we bought it brand new. But combines are usually buying 1 or 2 years old. That 9420R that we just bought over the winter was it's a 2017. Of course, this is 2021. All in all, yeah, the track there, back right rear track, is an issue with the cords coming out. But this is an awesome machine. I'd be happy to run one for everything we do, planting, side dress, and this is a lot taller. So that's one advantage of our 9420 we got. Taller. It's going to be our grain cart tractor. Replace the 8360 on that. If you think of the tracks though, the tracks are basically a lift kit because they're taking your hub way up higher and your drive axle. So this is almost as tall, if not as tall, as our 9420R. First thing I noticed when I climbed up in the cab is I could see clear over the tank behind me, where I can't see that in the 8360. So visibility will be nice as far as height, and if you didn't have those tanks, your visibility would be even better. Like I said, you got a straight front axle, but the ride is just as good as this tractor with independent front suspension. The turning is great. It turns really tight. You can see with the duals, there's settings in there. You're actually limited so you don't hit the tractor With this, you could turn really tight because those tracks, those are the width of the outside tire on that. You can turn really tight with this, and it turns so easy. And of course, on each side here, you've got that great big cylinder there that is doing the turning. You got one on each side, so no effort to turning. It turns just great. So summing up, it was a great tractor to have for a couple of fields of side dress. We will probably turn that thing into some version of this. Tires or tracks unknown. Tanks, I'd say probably not, but man, it is a sweet machine, I will tell you that. And if we pony up for the signature edition, that cab is a nice place to spend your workday. That is for sure. So great tractor. Thanks to John Deere and Greenmark for letting us have it for a couple days. Sorry about the problem with the track. Hope you get that sorted out. Awesome machine. I should say, so this is 370. This would be the top horsepower for the IVT transmission. When you go up to the 410, which is the top horsepower option now, you go to that, was it E18 or E23 power shift, which is like what our 9420 has in it. So you lose the IVT, which I really like IVTs. That tractor has the IVT in it. It's never been an issue. I really like the way it drives. And I like the little extra things they've got now with this joystick and the IVT. So I think I stick with the 370. We're not really doing any tillage, so the 410 doesn't help us a lot. So I think I'd stay in the lower horsepower and stick with that IVT.